The Way of the Wolf, right? This is a book by Jordan Belfort, and if you don't know who Jordan Belfort is, I don't know where you've been living, but you need to like move out like really quick, right? Because I know you guys know already, right? This is the guy that Leonardo DiCaprio actually played as, basically, right? In the movie The Wolf of Wall Street. Yeah, that guy that was like smoking like a whole bunch of like drugs, that was like, you know, like getting hookers like with little people inside of the work area. Like, it was an insane movie, right? But after I saw the movie, and then I was like, oh wait, this is actually based on a real story. Like, who is this guy, you know? And then I come to find out that the guy was released from prison and he wrote this great book. And the book is called The Way of the Wolf, and is actually a very good book. And that's what I'm here to do, right? I'm here to actually talk about the book and actually tell you guys if I recommend it or if I don't recommend it, you know, basically on a very simple criteria, if it has value for you, if it doesn't have value for you, right? Now, the first thing I do want to break down, guys, is that I have not read this book like yesterday, okay? I read this book like 3 weeks ago. So whatever I am telling you right now are the big fundamental value facts, like value points of the entire book, you know, because when you first read a book, right? If I read the book 3 weeks ago and I did the review like the next day, I can tell you every single detail about the book, which is great. But then 3 weeks later, what I really remember are the main focus points of the book, right? Which is very important. So here's the first thing, right? The first thing that I do want to say is that this book is not for everyone, right? Because it's not like a biography book, an inspirational book, like, oh my gosh, you know, you gotta get your stuff together. It's all about greatness. Like, think positive, think like a tiger, think like this, think like that. It's not one of those books. It's one of those books with a lot of facts, a lot of factual stuff, and it's all about how to make more money and how to make more sales, right? And how to close sales. So it's really a book for salespeople, right? Really a book for entrepreneurs, right? Because if you're an entrepreneur or you're into business, you need to read a book like this because it teaches you so much, right? Because this guy wasn't only rich, right? He wasn't only rich. He was actually a guy that made a lot of people that worked for him very wealthy. I think he said people that followed his system in the first 3 months, they were already on pace to actually make $1 million that year. Okay, so, and by the way, most of the people that work for him, the reason why he's so good at explaining things and actually verbalizing himself is because the average person that worked for him, he always says this, right? They were dumb as a rock, okay? And he used to say this like crazy, you know, like they barely got past high school. People were never on their side. They were like screw-ups, right? And when they got to the company, that's when they actually got the chance to shine. So whenever he was explaining something, he had to make it very dead simple, okay? And that's something I really appreciate that, you know, because people that really often try to complicate things and use like a whole bunch of hyperboles and a whole bunch of words that really don't make any sense, it's because they don't have a very, well, it's because they have a very abstract understanding of the topic and they don't really know what they're really talking about, right? Because if you understand the whole picture, then you know how to explain the basics to a child. And that's something that he does very well. So now the first thing I do want to explain to you guys, like I said before, this book is not for everyone. It's for like people that want to get better at sales. And for an entrepreneur, I recommend you read this book. The reason is because you will need to get better at sales. And if you're not selling any products, eventually you will have to sell yourself, okay? At some point, you will have to sell yourself to get that deal, to get those books sold, to get whatever you want to sell sold. Because, you know, if you're an entrepreneur, the entire point of being an entrepreneur is like to get a product to a person, and that's basically sales, right? Everything involves sales, all right? So in this book, he actually goes down into explaining the detailed system of how he managed to make so much money, right? But before I even get to that, he does explain that in the beginning, when he started the company, they were selling penny stocks to like the middle class and like, you know, the poor class, like the lower class, and they did very well for themselves, right? Like people were making commissions. But when the time came, when he wanted to improve, when he wanted to go further and further, his team was really not on his side. The reason is because when they made the switch to actually sell to the upper class, people with the most money, that's when things actually got interesting, right? Because you would think that, you know, well, if you sold to like middle class people, then you can sell to like upper class people automatically. In reality, you can't. All right, you can't because it's a completely different market, right? So he did a good job at explaining how he managed to create a system that actually works for every single person out there whatsoever. Like middle class, lower class, upper class, doesn't matter, right? And in the beginning, when this was happening, his team like sucked. They didn't know what they were doing. They didn't know how to make any sales. And the only people that were actually making sales was him and Jonah Hill. You know, I don't know what the guy name is, right? But I know that the actor that plays in the movie is Jonah Hill, right? So that's the guy. You can figure it out. You can get the name. I don't know the guy's name, but I do know that Jordan and this guy were the only ones really making sales, right? So when he got down to it, you know, he asked his team like, what's going on? Everybody said like, oh, we need to go back to selling to the poor people, right? The middle class people. And the reason is because you can't really sell to upper class people. They're too smart, right? And then Jordan said, well, how do you explain that I'm making sales, that I'm making more money, that I'm making a ton more money than every single person is? Because right now, none of you guys are actually making any sales. Every single person in the team said, well, how about we vote on it? Okay, how about we vote on it? How about we say like, well, if we go to penny stocks with the middle class, or we go to penny stock with the upper class people, right? But we all know that Jordan is a guy that's like, very forward, very forward thinking. He wasn't like, oh, this isn't a democracy, this is my business, So rather than just say like, oh, you guys need to try harder, you guys need to do this, you guys need to do that, he actually sat down and explained every single detail to actually how to sell to these rich people. And it's very simple. The entire system is called the straight line system. And its entire like foundation to this is that every single sale out there is basically the same. Now, for a lot of people out there that do sales might say, Tommy, that doesn't make any sense. And originally when I heard the entire like fact, it didn't really make sense for me either, because I thought like, hey, if I'm selling to Thomas and then I gotta sell to Brittany, don't I have to use a different tactic, And in reality, yes, kinda. But the entire foundation of the sale is basically the same, right? Everybody, it's basically three things, right? Uncertainty, and then qualifying the person. Well, you qualify the person first, right? Then you get the uncertainties out the way. Like, for example, oh, I'm not liquid right now. I don't know what's going on. Then you earn that person's trust, and then you go to closing the deal. That's basically that's basically it, right? That's basically everything that goes into a sale, right? But Jordan did a wonderful job actually explaining how every single factor actually plays into it, right? And something that he talks about in the book is called the certainty level, right? The certainty level is basically like the higher you are, the most certain you are, right? And that means that you need to be very certain before you actually buy a product or you close on that deal, right? For example, right, me personally, like I need to be like almost 100% sure before I actually like close on something, right? For example, when every single person out there was telling me, Tommy, why don't you go to all this what was it, network marketing stuff that was going on, like when with those signs that say like, oh, you should be here, like and all these things, like a lot of my friends, they took me to one of those conferences and they were like, all right, I'm good to go. Let's do it. A person like that has a very low certain level, right? It means that they don't really need to be sure about it. As long as it sounds great, then they're in, right? But for me, I almost need to be at a perfect 10 so you can close me on it, right? So when I went to one of them and then another friend of mine tricked me into going to another one, I was like, yeah, but I'm not really into it. No, thank you, right? So in order to close me, you need to get me like to a high certain level. Like you need to tell me like, hey, this works like this works like that. And that's what he actually talks about in the straight line system, right? So how it works is like this, right? Basically, say for example, Jordan himself is trying to close him, right? The first thing he wants to do is qualify me as a customer. He doesn't like that term in the book, by the way, but it's basically what it means, okay? Basically, there's a qualifying me for a customer. He's trying to see if I qualify to even purchase his product, and even if I'm in the market to actually purchase his product, right? Because you don't want to sell products to people that don't need your product or services. Because the more time you spend on trying to convert someone to actually buy your products when they actually don't need it, it's too much time wasted. Because there's a very big market out there of people that actually want to purchase your products that need your products, okay? So you don't want to waste your time on someone that doesn't want to purchase it because they don't need it, okay? Basically, that's what it means, right? So once you qualify me, then your entire job for this entire sale is actually getting my certain level up as high as it can possibly be. So by the time you're actually closing me on the sale, I'm almost 100% sure this is the perfect deal for me, all right? So what this means is this, right? So by the time I get to the closing factor, like I'm already 100% sure this is what I want. And it sounds very good. So once I get to that final factor, it's kind of like, all right, so how do I get you to trust me, right? And how you do that is by building rapport, but in a very honest way, right? So what you do is like, you say this, right? Well, you got me to the final step, and I'm like, I don't know, man. I'm not really sure about it, right? But I'm already sure about how the system works and how everything is so perfect for me. And then Jordan would ask me, right? This is what he said in his book. He would ask me like, all right, so if I was your broker for the past like 10 years, would you trust me on this? And the answer would probably be like, yeah, I'll be honest. Yeah, I'll probably trust you on this, okay? And here's the deal, right? The only thing that can go wrong with this is that you probably will wish that you actually bought more. Okay, because it's such a great deal, and I just explained everything like that. Okay, so what you want to do is that you want to build a rapport, but not build rapport off like basically like, because there's a lot of people out there that whenever they're making a sale for you, like, have you ever walked into a store, right? And the first thing they do is like, oh yeah, how was your day? Is everything fine? Is everything good? And how's the family? How's everything? And you already know that's BS. They don't really care about your family. What they're trying to do is kind of like be nice, so then they can hit you with the, oh, do you want to buy this $1,000 sofa? Like, you know what I mean? Like, what the hell? Like, no, like that's not cool. And then a lot of the things is that this, right? When the company made the switch from selling to like middle class people, and like, you know, like lower class people, like those tactics actually worked on those people. When it came to upper class, not saying that it's like, you know, like a mental thing, blah blah blah, like don't get offended, you know what I mean? Like I'm not upper class yet either, so I'm not offended, so you shouldn't be offended. Like, you know, just grow a pair real quick. But here's the deal: when they use those tactics to actually talk to people like about golf, about like hunting ducks, about a whole bunch of things that really didn't matter, like the people actually saw through that like really quick, and they were like, yeah, I'm not buying from this guy. This guy's a loser. Like he's just talking about nonsense, you know? So guys, to actually conclude everything, right? Because there's so much information in this book that I really can't fit it into one video that's maybe like 10 minutes long, okay? So here's the main thing, right? This book, The Way of the Wolf, will actually teach you exactly what you need to learn and how to make sales, right? Especially like sales over the phone, when you need to use like different voice patterns and body languages, because he does a very good job at explaining all those factors, okay? And especially even when you're going door to door and you're trying to make sales also, and especially when you're trying to make sales to people over the internet just by using banners or videos or whatever you want to use, right? It works in all those cases, okay? It's a very good book by a very good person that did a very good job at explaining these things to people that actually didn't know much, right? And there's a difference between a person that's like, you know, that they can do something very great, but something that's different from a person that can do something very great and then teach other people, okay? This guy taught his entire team, right, how to sell to the point where in 90 days, most of those people were on track to actually make $1 million, okay? Until they, like, most of them went to prison, okay? But that's not what I'm talking about, all right? Guys, my name is TommyBryson. If you like this video, go ahead and comment and subscribe and give it a like, okay? That's how I know you guys are liking the videos. Now, if you want me to read any other book and do a review on any other book, let me know in the comments down below. Usually, honestly, let me be honest, like, I've been reading, like, the same books over and over and over again, right? So I need new books to actually read. So let me know in the comments down below what books you want me to read so I can do a review on it and actually tell you the big nuggets in the video, well, in the books, okay? Because you don't want to have to read a 2,000-page book just so you can get one piece of information when I can just give it to you in a 10-minute video, all right? I'll see you guys next time on the next video. Thanks for watching, and peace.
You've got to start at the bottom if you're ever gonna reach the top. You've got to watch all the